Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and Chag Sameach. So I'm going to record this again, my little 10-minute Torah, as I call it, because apparently it didn't pick up any sound. I'm not really sure why, but I'll make sure it does it this time. Okay, so Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom. So this week is Shavuot. Now, last week I had the honor and the pleasure of meeting with the rabbi in our local community, Rabbi Suzanne Singer. And one of the things that I realized is that I enjoy getting together with other rabbis, and talking a little bit about our respective congregations, what's going on, what's working, what's not working, different things. It's really pleasant. Other professions have conventions and conclaves, and it'd be great if we rabbis did that every now and then too. I especially have a lot of respect for Rabbi Singer. She has been the rabbi over there at Temple Bethel in Riverside for a number of years, and she's very involved in social justice. So when I used to, I've changed, hear that a rabbi or Jews are involved in social justice, my question is, well, we're Jews, right? I mean, we're all supposed to be involved in social justice. But there are issues that are going on, and unfortunately, they border on political rhetoric. And I say that because people have asked me about my political affiliations and my preferences. And when people ask me that, they come to see that I don't reveal any that I have. And quite frankly, I really don't. I do it kind of on a case by case basis, if you will. But I will not, I don't divulge what my preferences are because let's say I say I'm a Democrat. Well, I've got Republicans in the congregation that, might be upset or, well, why don't you see it our way? And if I say I'm a Republican, there are Democrats that are going to be, well, how could you do that? And maybe there's some independent parties that say, well, both of them are wrong, we're right, or we're the way to go. But I think there are some issues that I would like to think transcend political affiliation. Things like immigration reform. In Judaism, we are supposed to honor the stranger. We're supposed to welcome the stranger. The modern interpretation or action is if you're at school or work and there's a new person there, you make friends with them. That's what we do. You can say that the United States, the country that we live in, is made up of immigrants. We've all immigrated here, everybody. So, do we need reform? Okay, again, I'm not going to get involved in a discussion, but we want to have the best system out there, right? That's the goal. So things like that. Now, my wife and I have been watching shows that talk about people that get sent to jail, and unfortunately, they're found guilty when there's plenty of evidence that they're innocent, or maybe there's the allegation, I'll use that word allegation, that evidence has been withheld and some people are calling for a new trial, et cetera, et cetera. So when I think of something like that, I think of Torah. I'm a rabbi. I study Torah. I study Talmud. I'm studying the Zohar a little bit. What does the Torah say? The Torah says that, first of all, you don't get convicted of a crime unless you're warned. And, we all kind of know what our crimes are, so it is what it is. But in the Torah, you don't get convicted unless you have two witnesses that say, we saw you there, we saw you do it, and that's it. You're found guilty. Now, here's a catch. If two more witnesses show up and say there's no way those witnesses are telling the truth because we saw them over there with us, there's no way they could have been there and saw that guy do or that woman commit that crime. What happens? The person jailed gets set free, and guess what happens to the two people that lied and said that we saw them? They serve out that person's sentence. What if we were to institute that here in this country? Now, of course, some people would scoff. They say, there's no way. You get a couple of people that serve out a false sentence, and guess what happens? Everybody kind of gets the message. Okay, so I've droned on a little bit about this issue. And I'm going to use that to kind of segue into the readings for Shavuot. Now, Shavuot is 2 days. We're out in the diaspora, so the rabbis put a fence around the Torah and 2 days to make sure the message gets out. Shavuot is kind of like the middle child of the pilgrimage festivals. Everybody knows about Passover, right? We have a Seder, we have fun. Everybody knows about Shavuot. We put up a Sukkot, everybody hangs out, we have, a little party in there. But Shavuot seems to get overlooked. And it's a very important holiday. As the other two, as its two siblings, it has an agricultural component and it has a religious component, a spiritual component. The agricultural component is that it's the summer harvest. And, I see Shavuot, Pesach is kind of the beginning of spring. Shavuot, while not quite there, is kind of like a summer holiday. We eat dairy because there wasn't any meat or some such thing. And it is the culmination of the counting of the Omer. The Omer is a unit of weight of measurement. It's equivalent to about 43.2 chicken eggs. Got to specify that. And back in the days of the temple, people would bring offerings of barley, and it would be an omer's worth of barley, and we count down the barley. Now, in today's world, it's a kind of a period of semi-mourning because we don't have a temple. Me personally, modern Rabbi Stephen, modern Rabbi Shmuel, we have Israel. Okay, we don't have a temple, but we're worshiping in freedom. Yes, there's been some problems, but we still worship. We still have services. Okay, we have a country. We have the modern state of Israel, continuation of the ancient kingdom of Israel, Judea, what have you. So for me, I'm sorry, but I'm just not into mourning. I'm into celebrating what we do have. So the big thing about Shavuot is that after Moses and the Israelites had been out in the wilderness for a few months, God said, I'm going to lead you to Mount Sinai. Moses, you're going to go up. I'm going to give you the 10 Commandments. The people said, we will do and we will hear. They committed to it before they even heard what it was. That's a big deal. And what are those commandments? I am the Lord thy God that took you out of Israel. Do not take my name in vain. Do not have gods in front of you. Honor the Sabbath. Honor mom and dad. Don't steal. Don't murder. No adultery. Don't steal. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet your neighbor's belongings. But then there's 603 other commandments, folks. And my concern, and the reason I bring up this idea about penalties, is, we read the Torah, but do we read it as a manual for spiritual fulfillment and action, social justice? Or do we read it as literature because we're Jews and this is what we do? This is what my concern as a rabbi. This isn't just some book, that talks about history. It does. I see it more as a book of history about our people, not our people, but our religion, about Judaism, not so much a book of history about the Jewish people. We have other books that can talk about that, like Chronicles and the Prophets. But to me, what is it about? What do we do as Jews? Okay, we need to focus on the Torah. In a way, Shavuot is a call to action. The same way Rosh Hashanah, the 10 days of awe, and Yom Kippur are a major call to action. If we look at Shavuot, and there's a tradition that during Shavuot, we stay up all night and we study Torah. Okay, we're studying Torah. Maybe we're studying Talmud. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Kabbalah, the Zohar. But what are we doing with it? The first reading of Shavuot, the first day, is kind of a recap of the 10 Commandments, again, to remind us. So in a sense, there's 3 reminders of the 10 Commandments. Exodus, where it appears. Deuteronomy, where it's repeated for the Israelites that are about to conquer the land. And Shavuot. The second day is about the responsibilities of the firstborn and the remittance of debts in the 7th year. That is, somebody borrows money from you, or you lend somebody money so they can get back on their feet or get their business going, which, by the way, is the highest form of charity. And if they have problems paying it back in the 7th year, you say, fine, forget it. Can't do it. You're having some dire straits. Don't worry about it. And here we are worrying, right? Because, what happened to my money? But God says, I will reward you for being charitable, being justice. And in Judaism, the word for charity and the word for justice is the same word, tzedakah. So maybe you can look at it as karma, right? You do good karma, you get it back. So this is Shavuot, folks, and these are the readings, and this is what we should be thinking about for Shavuot. How do we embody? How do we make the Torah part of our life? So let's dedicate ourselves this Shavuot to doing just that. When we read the Torah, when we come to services and we hear it of our Torah, let's really try to incorporate it into who and what we are as Jews. Remember, God chose us and we chose God. We are to be a light among the nations, a nation of priests. Let's not forget that. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, see you in services.